right, hello and welcome to the Hardy Wrestling Podcast live vibe. This is your girl Stephanie Hardy, of course, the host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And I've got a special guest with me who's like a man of many talents, I must say. He is a singer, songwriter, and a teacher, and a Morehouse grad. But most importantly, he is a wrestling fan who has gone viral for various videos he has posted of his wrestling fandom. So please welcome Victor Perry. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Stephanie. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I had to have you. I knew I had to have you on the show the more I saw your videos and stuff. So I was just like, you know what? He needs to be on the podcast. So I had to add you to the list. And I'm just so glad that we are doing this today, like of all days. So I'm just really excited.
Thank you.
Of course. So I'm going to start my interview off by asking you, when did you fall in love with wrestling?
I was in the third grade. I randomly came across wrestling. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I knew of it, but it wasn't something that was in my household. It was on a Saturday. I believe it was Velocity.
Oh, yes.
And it was a cruiserweight division. And I was just in awe of like all the magic, the gymnastics that was involved. And so I was like, I want to watch this, but I didn't know it came on every Saturday. So I think the next week I saw something maybe on a Thursday, and I think that was SmackDown. And then it was completely different. It was like a whole new show. Like it was nothing like Velocity. And before I knew it, I got my twin brother involved in on it, and we just started watching it. Like we figured out the schedule, we figured out who were our favorite wrestlers, and it just became a thing that just became a part of both of our lives.
Okay, so you started watching like this kind of like the sister show to SmackDown, Velocity. I
Mm-hmm.
know that's a pretty deep cut for a lot of people. Like in the 2000s, like it was almost like you had Raw had Sunday Night Heat,
Yeah.
and then SmackDown had Velocity. And I used to enjoy watching it, and I used to get mad that Velocity would go off early.
Yeah.
Like, because it's like I was used to like all the hour-long shows or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But then it's just like when you watch Sunday Night Heat and Velocity, like they will go off after an hour, and I just be like, come on, like I want more. But that's like so cool that you got started with the cruiserweight division as well, which is another deep cut because a lot of people don't know, how people don't remember rather how amazing that cruiserweight division was back then. Like, who
They
were
were
some of your
popping.
favorites in?
I mean, you had Ray, but I feel like his name was Paul London.
Yeah, Paul London, yes.
Paul London. And he
Brian
had a tag
Kendrick.
partner, right?
Yeah, wasn't it Brian Kendrick?
Brian Kendrick, yes. Those were the
Yes.
first. That was that. I remember that match. I remember one of their matches, and I was like, "Yo, they're crazy." And so yeah, that's what got me into it. It was them. Um, I guess you could call Hurricane
Yes.
cruiserweight, like Hurricane. I remember his outfit with Mighty Molly.
Yes.
Mighty Molly. So yeah,
And then you also had Tajiri as well.
that was my brother's favorite.
Oh, yes. Tajiri was really cool.
Yeah,
And then, of course, you had Chavo Guerrero, who held the cruiserweight title a number of times, too. Like, that cruiserweight division was really
it
lit.
was popping, and I remember it ended up being on TV. Like it was, well, of course it was on TV, but like the main show, like it was considered, like it was at times, considered a main title. So I thought that was cool too. We don't see it now, but like, yeah, the cruiserweight division back then was stacked, like stacked.
It really was.
Hmm.
And it almost makes you wish they would put more into their like they did try to put more into their cruiserweight division, like with 205 Live and everything, but they've made so many various changes now that it's just like that's no longer a thing. It's like
Hmm.
their title has been unified with the NXT
And
North
yeah,
American title.
yeah, the North
So
American title.
yeah, I miss that a lot. Because I
Yeah,
remember that first tournament was amazing. Yeah, it was great.
yeah.
So, did you ever have any issues, with your wrestling fandom, growing up? Like how some people have a tendency to like say that they're a wrestling fan, but then they get made fun of by others who might not understand it or think it's fake or something?
No, I'm from the South. I'm from Georgia, so it was weird to a lot of people, but they didn't make fun of it. My brother and I, well, we always beat to our own drum. So in like fourth or fifth grade, when we uh, started sharing our love for it with our friends, we created the Chain Gang. We stole Cena's moniker and created a Chain Gang club at our school. It was me, my brother, and like five other kids. And we'd sit at lunch every day and we'd bring in our magazines because WWE used to have the magazines.
Yes.
And we, of course, we had the Diva magazines. So we had the magazines, the toys, all the, oh, see, Double Trouble. So because it was me and my brother, we got Double Trouble. So we figured out we could get the full roster if he collected all the men, I collected all the girls. So we had a whole roster at one point. I think we had every wrestler that was on roster for 2004 for Raw and SmackDown. We had every action figure. We would bring them to school. My mom is a computer analyst, so like we had a printer in our house, which was rare back in the day, to have your own printer.
Wow. Yeah.
And she would print. We would print out like flyers that say Chain Gang, and then on it would say who we were. So at the table, we'd pretend we were different wrestlers, and we'd take on their gimmicks, even though we didn't know that's what it was, a gimmick. We took on their likeness. So my brother was Cena. I was Randy Orton. We had a kid be HBK, Triple H. We had one girl in the group, and she was Trish Stratus, but I was a Victoria fan, so I wanted a girl to be Victoria. So yeah, it was embraced. I think the other kids thought it was cool because they all wanted to sit at our table, but we wouldn't let them. We were like, no, I'm part of the Chain Gang. You couldn't see me. Like we would do all that. Like, yeah, it was cool. And then we had our first. We did a WWE came to Tallahassee, Florida, because I'm from Thomasville, Georgia. So like we live like literally on the Florida Georgia line. So like Tallahassee, Florida is like, I mean, we go there for the movies, we go there for shopping, we go there for food. Like that's how close we are. They came to our civic center and we all went as a group to see a live show, and it was fun.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So you basically built your own group around wrestling and
Yeah,
made it the cool thing to do.
yeah, it was something else. All the kids were on then watching it, and I'll never forget because we couldn't watch Raw. Well, we had a bedtime, so like my mom made us go to bed
Right.
at 10. You know, Raw is 3 hours. So what we would do is uh, we turn the TV down really low. We turn the brightness down really low so you can't, because you know how like I guess the doors are lower now to the floor, but like back in the day, like the doors had like that space underneath, so you could
Yes.
see the light flashing. So we'd have to like we were like rigging, like we had the TV tint down, like the tint of the TV down, the brightness of the TV down, just so that it wouldn't flash. And so we would just sneak and watch Raw like all the way through, like, and we go to school and we talk about it with our peers at the Chain Gang table, and they're like, "What? We didn't see that. We had to go to bed." No, man, you should have saw what such and such did in the main event, yo. Like it was cool, It was one of those things.
That is the coolest thing I've ever heard. Y'all basically was like sneaking and watching wrestling and then talking about it and making it the cool thing to do at your school. That is
Mm-hmm.
definitely one of the more different stories that I've heard about wrestling fandom because in some cases there are some people who get made fun of for watching wrestling or they just don't talk about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was one of those people where I would talk about watching wrestling still.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then everyone else would talk about how they started and then they quit and then they would try to make fun of me for it, but I would still do it because I'm just that person. Like,
Yeah,
okay, and
yeah, and it's their loss because they're missing
right,
something amazing.
right, you are. And I think that's amazing that you were able to do that and then even go to a live show in Florida and living on the Florida Georgia line. That's so cool.
Yeah, that was the only show I went to for years.
Oh, okay. So what was the last show you went to? Like, have you been to any lately?
Yeah, like as an adult. So like I stopped watching wrestling for an extended period of time because my interests changed. I got older, and music came into my life. Like, and so I focused on that for a long period of time. But then the pandemic hit, and then I felt right. I just had nothing to do. And so wrestling. My brother stayed with it. So like he stayed with wrestling all throughout the 2012 to 2019 19 era. So he would message me and say, "Hey, you should check this person out." Da 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 da. And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." So I heard names like Sasha Banks, Roman Reigns, Charlotte Flair. Like I heard those names a lot, but I was like, "Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah." So as an adult, I now have, like, before it was my parents like, "Oh, we can't afford it, can't take you to those." Now I'm an adult, and so when I fell back in love with it,
Mm-hmm.
again, I'm an adult now and I can pay for those things. And so I went to my very first like tape show ever. It was Survivor Series uh, in November 2021,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went to Raw the next night. Because it was 2 nights at the Barclays, and then I went to Madison Square Garden this past March with my kids, and I went to SmackDown March 25th. I remember all the
Wow.
dates because those are monumental moments for me.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that that's monumental for you. And adulthood definitely does have its perks, when you're able to pay for your own tickets and do stuff, and sort of heal that inner child that
Hmm.
never got to do certain things. That's
Oh
really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I was like, I'm gonna drop $400 on a ticket. Why not? Oh yeah, I was so like true story. Uh, when I was debating going to Survivor Series for the first time, it was literally rent Survivor Series. You know which one I chose.
Oh,
My landlord was like, I was like, I'm gonna be late this month.
oh my God. You were late on rent for Survivor Series.
That's right.
Lord, now that's love.
But I won't teach my kids that.
Yeah. Oh God, no, no, no. That's not good money management.
No, not at all. I was like, I was hurting that month. I was like, oh Lord Jesus, help me through.
Yeah.
But it was worth it. It was worth it. I got to see a great pay per view, um, and got to experience it for the first time, where I felt like, it sounds cheesy but alive. Like it just felt like nothing else mattered but being there. And when it ended, I felt incomplete. I was
Hmm.
like, I need to experience this again, which is why I went to Raw the next night. And then after that, I was like, every time they come to this area, I'm going, like, regardless. Like, and the thing is, I've gotten spoiled because, like I said, I bought the tickets. They were in the hundreds, so they were right there near the front, but
Hmm.
not on the floor. But that wasn't good enough for me. So when I went to SmackDown, I had to get floor seats, and I was on the fourth row behind the commentator's desk. So I was really close, but that's not good enough for me.
Oh
I'm a front
God.
row type of guy. So I now got to figure out how I'm going to make some more money so I can go to front row.
See, the only time I've ever been in the front row for a wrestling event was like when NXT during the Black and Gold era, where they used to do NXT live shows,
Hmm.
and they came to the Boutwell because I'm in Alabama. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama,
Oh, you're
and
Southern. Love it.
yeah. So we went to the Boutwell and they were there and they told us to move up to the front regardless of what tickets you had because this is
Hmm.
more of a smaller auditorium.
Yeah.
And so we went up to the front. It was me and my boyfriend and his
Hmm.
mom. And
Hmm.
we went up to the front and experienced everything. And it was the coolest. Like, this was during the time Andrade was NXT champion with Zelina. This was
Wow.
also around the time the Street Profits were just finding their groove. Buddy Murphy was there, like Bianca Belair was even there. Like, this was early in her and Montez Ford's relationship and everything. So we saw a lot of like who's who on the main roster now,
That's so cool.
at that show. And we were sitting right in the front. And I'll never forget meeting Ember Moon because she was the women's champion. And she was so nice to us. And we have a picture together and everything.
Aw.
So that was the only time I've ever been up front. But it's definitely like the coolest thing. And
Yeah.
it's even cooler when you don't necessarily like have to pay for it. It was like,
Right. It's like, hey, perks.
yes, it was a lucky time. It really
Hmm.
was. And we just
That's
had so much
cool.
fun.
That's so cool. Yeah, I love Ember Moon. And I knew of her. Well, so like even when I wasn't watching, I'm a big Victoria fan.
Hmm.
And I was watching an interview. I've kept up with Victoria like throughout my life. So like I never forgot about her. So like when I was in high school, I still researched her, watched her indie stuff. So I did watch wrestling, but it was only for her. So like I remember her mentioning Ember Moon was inspired by her. So that's when I was like, okay, so this girl must be good because she's naming Victoria as her inspiration. So I knew of her, even if when I wasn't watching it for that short period of time.
Yeah, Victoria was always one of my favorites too. She was always so crazy. I really hope at some point she comes back and they put her in the Hall of Fame because her rivalry with Trish Stratus was fire.
And
But
it
we'll
was
get
the first women's rivalry. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they didn't have a storyline before Victoria and Trish. Like, that was a storyline that they created between those two women, and they knocked it out of the ballpark. But yeah,
yeah, but
she's
we'll
due
get
for that.
yes, definitely. We'll get more into your favorite wrestlers a little bit later. So I
Hmm.
want to ask you, when did music per se become your passion?
So I grew up in a household. Both of my parents are musicians. They're ministers of music and gospel music, so church. So I've always sung, and I did opera in high school. My mom did opera, so I just followed her lead. But it wasn't until college, my freshman year in at Morehouse, wasn't such a good experience. I was just not happy. I started writing in my journal a lot, like just expressing my feelings, expressing my emotions, and I was listening to Rihanna's "Stay" with Mickey Echo, and
Mhm.
I was just listening to the lyrics. Of that was the first time I've ever listened to a song and listened to the lyrics. Before it was always just the vocal, and I was like, "Yo, this sounds so much like the stuff that I'm writing in my journal." Um, and I was like, "What if I translate this over to music? Like what if I just put a melody to it?" And so my dad, of course, being the awesome dad he is, he was like, when you come home for the summer, we're gonna record. And I was like, but we don't have a studio. He's like, you let me take care of that. So I came home for the summer. He literally built a studio in our house. Like we took one of our bedrooms and he gutted it out and really created a professional studio. Like it looked professional. And so we
Wow.
went in the booth and I just learned how to sing in the booth, learn how to write in the booth. And since 2016, it's just, well, that was 2013. So since 2013, I've been a songwriter. But I would say officially a songwriter, 2020, since 2020. Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Like, so basically you came up in a family of singers, and when it finally clicked for you, it made sense for you, and then it's just like you sort of use that inspiration from your family, and then within your and also within your training to sort of find your own voice and also your own words as well.
Yeah. It was interesting uh presenting it to my parents. They're such critics.
Mm.
They demand excellence. And so for them, I'm singing music and writing about things that they didn't think. Every parent thinks they know their kids. And so when they're looking and listening to my lyrics, I'm talking about deep, dark things. They're like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you singing about that? You should be singing about this. And I'm like, y'all don't get it. Like, this is me expressing how I feel. This is me telling you, because I'm not a talker. I don't talk about my feelings. And so this is me talking to you guys. So when they finally got it and got the sound and got like the direction, because it's pop, I did a lot of pop,
Mm-hmm.
alternative music. So for them, they're like, well, you're not doing gospel music, one.
Mm.
And then you're also talking about all kinds of dark stuff. Like, what's wrong with you? But when they finally accepted it, it's been great. They support it. They don't give critique. You know, it's always just a round of applause, and I love it. Yeah.
It's good that they were able to come around, even though what you were doing was a little bit different than what they were used to. Because trust me being from the South, I understand how some families can be when it comes to doing something outside of what they know or outside of how they sort of taught you and sort of molded you in their own image. But then once you sort of grow up and figure out, what else is going on within you, and
Mm-hmm.
then even what else is going on in the world, it's like you sort of combine those things and it sort of catches people who've known you your whole life off guard.
Mm-hmm.
And they, and sometimes they don't, necessarily respond the best to it. But then once they, realize that this is just a part of your transformation as your own human being, as your own self, the ones who truly love you will stay by your side.
That's right.
And it's really great that they were able to do that and support you in that, even though it was in something completely different. This kind of reminds me of Janelle Monet and a conversation she was having at Red Table Talk yesterday. It's pretty interesting. Um,
And you know what's funny? I used to work for Sony Music,
oh
um,
wow.
and we were working with her, and I met her, and she stopped. Like we were working, and she was like, "You have a great spirit and great energy," and I was looking at her like, "What?" Like that's so strange. But I think she felt the same thing that she may have been going through.
Yeah.
Like kindred spirit. So I thought that was cool that you mentioned that because I remember that moment quite vividly when I met her working at Sony.
Oh my gosh, that's such a cool experience. Janelle Monae is one of my favorite artists, like, period. Like,
Yeah,
I remember discovering her on MySpace because I would only go on MySpace to listen to music,
for
and I
music.
found her. And I
Yeah.
found her by accident one day, and I was just like, who is this girl?
Was it the
And
Archangel Angel thing?
yes, the art,
Mhm.
well, no, not the Archangels before that. It was the Metropolis.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the one with
when
the
she
robot.
yeah, with Many Moons, with
Hmm.
that song. And I loved her ever since. And I was just like, girl, she needs to be famous. And I used to get mad at BET, like, how come you're not showing her? And then eventually they caught on
Uh-huh.
late, but they did catch on finally. And now here we are with her. And it's just like, she's just, amazing. And she's just a trailblazer. And just the fact that you worked with her, that's amazing.
Yeah, I did marketing with Sony, college marketing. So like we worked with a lot of artists, like marketing their albums, tours when they were in the city. So yeah, she
Mm-hmm.
was cool. We were working a tour. Two things. We were working a tour for her, and then she had a label, um, and she signed this girl band. I cannot remember their names, but they had a song called "Going Nowhere." But it's a girl band that they signed.
Oh my
Um,
God. I think I remember them because it was Wonderland, wasn't it?
Wonderland was a label.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and it was Jadena and it was
Jadena,
Roman G and Arthur.
yes,
And I know those women and I just can't remember their names to save my life. Oh
yeah.
my
I
gosh. I'm
forgot
so
their name.
mad.
Me too. I feel bad, but they were dope.
Oh
They were
gosh.
dope.
Yes, I love them. They were
Mhm.
great. So you mentioned your college experience and how you went to Morehouse and you're a Morehouse graduate. Like, what was that experience like, and what exactly was your major at that prestigious HBCU? Because I've heard about that school my entire life,
Yeah,
even though of course I'm a woman, so I would have had to have gone to Spelman across the
Spelman.
street.
Yeah,
But either way, like, what was that experience like for you?
it was. It had its ups and downs. Like I said, my
Hmm.
first year was rough. I didn't like it. I didn't want to be there. I didn't even want to go to this school. That was not my
Hmm.
choice. My parents made me go there, but I'm glad that they did. It taught me a lot about me as a black man, owning my blackness, loving my blackness, and sharing it with the world. Um, but it had its ups and downs. It ended up being up. Like I said, it brought me so many opportunities. Like I said, love music. You know, I was the biggest Rihanna fan, so like I studied everything about Rihanna. So everything about her albums, her singles, her sales, her tours, her endorsements, radio play, any and everything. I knew it. I knew the rollout for her every song, what was the marketing behind it, everything. So that got me the job with Sony Music. Um, Someone overheard me arguing with another person, and I was spitting fact and like spitting like what I knew because I studied it. And they were like, you can actually take that passion and work for a record label. And I was like, what? Like, they're like, yeah, like there's literally fields in the record label. You have marketing, A&R, digital sales, like radio, video promo, like all that stuff. And I was like, what? So I interviewed, got the job, was a marketing rep for Sony. So I did college marketing for Atlanta. And then I did internships at Epic Records, where I worked with a lot of Epic artists like Fifth Harmony, Megan Trainor, J Lo, Sierra, Jadena. Oh, my favorite one to work with was Future. We worked on DS2. So like it was just like Morehouse granted me that opportunity. Like the passion that I had, because I was just going to Morehouse to be a political science. Like I majored in that. Then I
Hmm.
switched over to ELA. And I didn't really have a plan. I didn't have a game plan. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I was just doing it because it was easy. Like I like writing. But it afforded me that opportunity to work at Sony. And it gave me a lot of experiences that I then took over to education once that fell in my lap years later.
Okay, so what exactly is ELA, if you don't mind me asking?
Sorry, that's a New York thing. English language arts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's just that you said ELA, and I was listening because you were still going with your train of thought, but
Uh-huh.
my brain was like, "What is that? Hold up, what's that?"
Pause. Wait a minute.
Right. What
Yeah.
is it? But okay,
Yeah.
ELA. That's great. So culturally, like, what did you do like outside of your studies at Morehouse?
So if it wasn't working for Sony, nothing.
Ah.
It was all Sony. I'm the type of person, I put my all into what it is that I'm working on. And so it was a huge program. So there was like 80 to 90 reps. I wanted internships. I wanted the main job. So in order to make myself known and make myself stand out, I put everything that I had into it. And that's how I got the internships. Out of the 85 or 90 of us, six of us were brought to New York City. I was one of the six. Out of the six, one black person. It was me.
Jesus.
So, I just put my all into it. I didn't have time for anything else outside of it. I did sing a little on campus, and I don't know if it's still there, but like on campus, there's like this mural that someone painted, and there's like of different things at Morehouse. There's a picture of me singing, so I thought that was cool. So I have a legacy, if it's still there. But that was about it. The only thing I'm thinking about, I did sing for Tyler Perry,
Oh
um, and I
wow.
got a standing ovation, but it was with this group of this ensemble, because I did do acting, just like I did like this much of acting. Uh, didn't like it, but I did that much. And we did a performance for John Lewis. May he rest in
Wow.
peace. It was for his birthday, and we did a performance, and a lot of who's who in the black world was
Hmm.
there, and Tyler Perry was there. Jamie Foxx hosted, and they gave us all a standing ovation. So I thought that was cool.
That sounds amazing. That sounds like something that would happen to me, and I would just cry afterwards.
Yeah,
Cause how?
yeah, yeah. It was so surreal. Like and I didn't even audition. It just came to me. It was like one of those things. I just happened to be performing at Morehouse, and someone was like, "You should go and do this thing with Steve Harvey." And I was like, "What? Like, what are you doing here?" And they're like, "You should go do it." And then like they were like, "Yeah," and it's gonna be for this, and that. And before I knew it, we were just all into it. Like there's like a cast of like 30 black talented singers and actors.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So with you being in college, did you have time for wrestling even then, or were you really just, you sound like you were just all in, so you had no time for no distractions.
No.
You sound like a Mamba mentality type of person
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
it came to your studies and everything. So you really had no time for wrestling then.
No, that's the thing. Like I knew it existed, but I didn't watch it. My brother kept me up to
Hmm.
date with who was there, but I didn't watch it. No. And the funny thing was they came to Atlanta so much when I was in school, and I didn't
Right.
know, and I could have experienced it. So yeah, I beat
But
myself up about it. In fact, I think they had a WrestleMania in Atlanta.
they had a WrestleMania in Atlanta in 2011 because
Yeah,
that was my last year. That was my senior year of high school. And me and my dad and my sister went, and that was the last wrestling event I went to before I went off to school.
gotcha. So yeah, I remember it. I was there. That was my um okay, I'm confused. Wait a
What
minute.
is it?
Was that? You said you were. Wait, I wasn't even in high school. Was I in high school?
In 2011?
I don't. Yes, I was in high school. I was a junior in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it. I remember it. I just had
Yeah.
a brain fart. I was like thinking like time periods. Yeah, and I didn't go. Did not go.
Aw. And
I
then it was in the
stopped. I actually stopped watching wrestling in 2010 because Victoria left. She left
mhm.
altogether. I think she retired. I think she left TNA.
Mhm.
Uh, 2010. So that's when I stopped. She was like the sole reason why I was watching it at that point.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
understand that, but yeah, I was heavily into it. And then we went to that WrestleMania because it was the closest one outside of New Orleans. That's really the closest WrestleMania's ever been
Yeah.
to us. So we knew we had to go. And we went and I enjoyed it. And it was at the Georgia Dome, which no
I was
longer
about to
exists
ask you where
now.
was it?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
at the Georgia Dome, and that was just like it was the Undertaker versus Triple H. It was the Miz versus John Cena for the title, and then The Rock was hosting, and they had a mixed tag match, but didn't really have a tentpole women's match, which basically sort of speaks to the time
Yeah, I
in
remember.
which it was in. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one WrestleMania I've been to,
That's so
and
dope.
yeah, but everybody, critically destroys it all the time, but I don't care. It's my WrestleMania, so
Yeah,
I don't
facts. You own it and live it, okay?
exactly. Like I don't care. So you mentioned I remember the first time I saw you and noticed you. You
Mhm.
posted a video, of course, of you and your kids in the classroom watching wrestling. So I have to ask you, what's the most rewarding part about being a teacher?
Hmm. Growth. I like to see growth, whether it's academically or personally. I feel like I've done my job when I can see a kid show growth. Yeah.
Okay. That's beautiful, actually, because it's like I love it when teachers care and it's clear that they care.
Mhm.
And when they care enough to see the growth within their children, I feel like those are the best people who are truly meant to be teachers.
Yeah. And I think it's so hard being a sixth grade or a middle school teacher because you don't see it right away, the growth.
Hmm.
You see it later. Like, and I just think back to this moment recently. One of my first students ever that I taught, her mom tagged me on an Instagram post, and it was an acceptance letter to Dartmouth.
Mm.
And I was just like, it was just so, it was a heavy experience. I was like, wow, they grow, like she wanted to go to college. These are like kids who come from backgrounds I dare to never wish on anyone. Their lives are hard. And to see them say, I want to go to college, because that's what we teach them, got to go to college. And to see
Hmm.
them make it happen years later, like it's the growth that you want to see. And the fact that the mom remembered me, I taught her seventh grade, and years later, her mom remembered enough to say, hey, Mr. Perry, thank you for helping my daughter. She wants to say thank you for helping her get into Dartmouth. It's things like that. That's what I like to see. Just growth.
That's beautiful. That is a beautiful story. And I
Mhm.
know that has to make you feel really good inside knowing that planted those seeds, in your students. So that's beautiful to hear. So
Yeah,
how do you balance your music career and your teaching? That has to be a lot.
I don't. That's the thing. There is no balance. What you talking about? I just do, okay? And now with this wrestling club, I just do. All right. All right. Because like I have no time for anything. And now I just rediscovered my love for video games. And
Oh
so like
wow.
I just bought like literally a headset. I got a PS4. I got Fortnite and WWE 2K22. I don't
Mhm.
have a life. There's no such thing as balance. Like, soon as we finish this, I'm getting on I want to break it in my headset. I want to play some games. Like it's like there is no balance. Like I said, the reason why I said 2020 was the year when I um, committed to being a songwriter is because everything stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in the pandemic, and I didn't have to get up and leave my house. So I was able to sit with myself, not distracted, and I could just write. And so in that year, those 2 years, I learned how to make it work. And so every Thursday I'm in the studio. Unlike only today, I'm not there because I'm here with you. But every Thursday I'm in the studio. Every Monday and Tuesday I'm writing songs. So Monday, Tuesday I'm writing songs. Thursday I'm recording. Monday, Tuesday, Friday it's WWE.
Mm-hmm.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday video games. You catch my drift? So it's like
Yes.
I'm just finding time throughout the day to just make all of the things that make me happy, giving it some part of me.
Wow. That's really good that you have that dedication like that. And it's so funny you say that there is no balance. It's so funny because I don't think I would truly call it a balance either in my life
Mm-hmm.
because there's my job and then there's my podcast and there's women's wrestling talk, which I always work with.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally me practicing commentary because I commentate for an all female wrestling division in Gadsden, Alabama,
What?
too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. But yeah, so basically, I try so hard to try to fit in regular life stuff, like because even now, like last weekend, I didn't do an episode because I wanted to go see the Birmingham Stallions
Mm-hmm.
because that's the USFL and it's stationed here in Birmingham, and I wanted to go support our first game,
Yeah.
and it's just like I try so hard to fit in regular life stuff because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just feel like if I let it take over me, then I won't have anything left and maybe I'll burn myself out and
Yeah.
cry in a corner. So
Yeah.
I just try really hard to maintain, a life outside. But it does, have its moments where it's just like, but yeah, I
Yeah. But
understand.
you said something that just struck a chord with me, crying in a corner. I cannot remember the last time I cried because I've
Oh
been so
wow.
happy.
Well, that's good.
Like I haven't felt burnt out. I haven't felt stressed. Like it's amazing to think like when we feel like we're still like tired, we're giving something to something that we love. It brings us joy. It like cancels out that tired, burnt out like feeling because I'm exhausted. Like I'm tired. I'm ready for the school year to end. I want like a month long break of just nothing, but I'm still going. There's things that's keeping me going, like a hummingbird. Like I'm just going with the motion. So yeah, I totally connect with you on that. But I want to ask you, what is it like to commentate? Like I feel like I could not call a match. I'd be like, she just hit her with a clothesline, and like I feel like I sound like dumb. Like, how do you do it?
See, it's funny because I didn't think I could do it either. But the thing is, it's like I try my best to watch wrestling and sort of study and listen to people and listen to other commentators, of course, who've been doing it longer than I have. And then on top of that, sort of painting the picture of what I see from my perspective and sort of making it real.
Mm,
And then I practice a lot because I know like I'm still new to it, so I still try my
mm,
best to practice
mm,
from what I see a lot of the time.
mm,
And I'm mostly a color commentator. So it's me and then it's usually another person doing play by play. So sometimes I don't necessarily have to worry about knowing all the moves. Sometimes I'll just say stuff that's either really quippy to my commentator partner or give like certain facts about,
the
the
person in the
wrestlers
ring.
that I see, and what their motivations are going
Mm-hmm.
into a match and what the story is or why they're beefing with this person and all of that. And it's just really fun because you're pulling on so many levels of knowledge that
Right.
you have, not even just in wrestling, but just in life in general. Like TikTok trends or pop culture stuff or music stuff or Disney stuff sometimes. Because I've even made references to Frozen, like
Oh
in my
Lord.
last show.
When did
So
you get to let it go? Just let it go.
Yeah, like it's a lot of different things, but that's what I love about it though.
That's
Like you're
dope.
yeah, it's cool. I love it so much, but I do, try my best to practice as much as I can.
That's smart.
Yeah, so yeah, I know I'm not perfect, but I know I still have a ways to go. So it's
Work
fun.
at it. Work at it.
Also, you're probably the first person who's asked me a question in my own interviews.
Really?
You're
Hey,
probably the first person who's ever asked me a question like that.
wow. I'm happy to be the first person.
Yay!
I genuinely wanted to know because I think there's so much in the wrestling world, and I'm just like fascinated by all of it. Like, so like I've never talked to a commentator, so I'm like, I want to know what it's like. Like, is it difficult? Do you sometimes get tongue tied? Do you like oh like are
Oh
you in the
yeah.
moment where you're like oh like what do I say because they always are like on point. You never hear them off. So that's
Yeah,
one
that's
thing.
what yeah, that's where the practicing comes in because sometimes I do get tongue tied a little bit, but
Mhm.
it's okay. It's all a work in progress.
That's right.
Yes, definitely. So, what inspired you to start? Well, before I ask that question, let me ask, how did you were you since you did talk a little bit offline about how you were a teacher during the pandemic. So, you did mention how you were sort of at home not doing anything. So, did that include in your teaching career as well?
Oh yeah, I was teaching, but it didn't feel like it.
Mhm.
It was virtual. Virtual was a mess. Um, the kids showed up, and I did my best to make it a joyous environment, but it was tough. I teach you how to read. I teach you how to
Mhm.
write. I need to be there to see that you're annotating the text. I need to see that you're actually writing down. Like there's just things that I learned when I became a teacher that I couldn't do on a computer. You feel me? I can't
Mhm.
tell. I mean, of course, I know if you're cheating, like if you're copying off the internet, but I can't tell if you're picking up the skills because that's the most important part is the skills. When you come across something that you don't understand, are you using these skills to help you decode it, break it down, and put it into your own words so you understand it? That's what I teach. And I wasn't able to do it. So it was difficult. Um, but it taught me a lot about having patience. It taught me a lot about having empathy and it taught me a lot about having equity. There's a difference between equality and equity, and being able to see into my kids' lives that way, looking at their homes and hearing their homes and feeling that energy, whether it's positive or negative, it taught me so much as an educator. I was like, I will never approach teaching in a way that I expect them to be able to perform the way that I think that they should perform. Because that's selfish and it's not fair of me. And I didn't know that before the pandemic. So I did gain those skills as a teacher. So now when I'm in the classroom, I have a little more patience and I have a little bit more grace to give when
Mhm.
kids are defiant, when kids are not doing or meeting the expectation, when kids are giving up. Just this week, I had a kid tell me in front of his classmates, and it was the first time this kid spoke because the kid's always off task, but it was the first time that he spoke, and we were. I think that I'm a teacher who teaches reality, and so we're talking about GPAs in sixth grade. They're about to be in seventh grade. They need to know what their GPA is. They need to understand how it works, why we have it, because you got to have a good one to get into college, get scholarships, so on and so forth. So one of the kids, I was like, look at your grades for this past trimester. What do you think you're going to do to get a higher grade? And this kid said, I'm going to get a 50. And I said, why just a 50? I don't know. I said, no, I really want to know. Why just a 50? Like, why are you going for 50? That's all I think I can get.
Mm.
And I almost started crying. And it wasn't because I was like, I almost started crying because I'm like, what have I not done this year to make you feel successful? So that all you feel is a 50. And in that moment, it shook me. I was like, And then I just responded in the most genuine way. I was like, well, the first thing you got to do is come to school on time, my friend. He doesn't ever come to school on time. That's going to get you in the door. That's going to boost you automatically up to a 60. Okay. And then you need help, do what you can do. Giving your best sometimes is not a 100. But if all you can give is a 50 and it's your best, then I will accept that. Because then I can help you move it from a 50 to a 70. But I can't help you. You're saying you can't do more than a 50. I can't help you if you don't come to the table with the 50 that you give. And he was like, okay, all right, Mr. Bird. So it's baby steps. But teaching during the pandemic taught me to find that grace, give that grace, and live in that grace. So I am thankful for that.
Definitely. Wow. Like, I have such a great amount of respect for any teachers and even any parents that had to navigate that, with their children. Because I thought it was just bad just being an ordinary person in it. I can't even imagine being a teacher or being a parent and having to explain that to your children. And then on top of that, having to keep a sense of normalcy in their lives and then sort of maintain that level of normalcy while helping them still succeed, in terms of an education. Like, so kudos to you and essential workers and everyone else who had to navigate that and learn how, to have patience in the midst of all that. I feel like to be a teacher, you have to have patience anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but then to have another level of it during a time in which none of us have ever experienced in the modern world is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys are amazing. And I feel like y'all need to hear that a whole lot more than we tell you. Y'all are
Appreciate.
awesome. You're awesome
Thank you.
for
We
that.
appreciate it. Yeah, I just think now, like looking at the kids, because I got to stay with my fifth graders, so they're now in sixth grade. So like I got to see them in the pandemic, and I got to see them out of the pandemic. So it's like when I go back to that piece about growth, I see it, you know, and that's what's beautiful. It's like I don't. Not every teacher I think gets to loop with their kids.
Hmm.
So I'm on a program. I think no, I'm not gonna loop this year, but I was supposed to loop with these kids all the way to eighth grade. So I was supposed to see them go from fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. But I want to stay in sixth grade. So I like sixth grade. I like the kids and I like the behaviors. Like I like the want to be independent and being independent behaviors because I can break them and get them to reality. You know what I mean? See it. So like I like that grade, but I got to see growth with these kids, and like I tell them I remind them of it every day. Like I don't, and I tell them I don't want you to feel unsafe, and I don't want you to feel like I'm failing you as a teacher. So I do my best every day to tell them you're doing great. I see the growth. Do you feel it? Yeah, Mr. Perry, I feel it. Well, then good. That's all I want you to feel. Feel it, all right? So yeah, thank you
That's
for asking that question. It made me reflect as well. So thank you.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. That's beautiful. So in the midst of all of this amazing stuff that you do as a teacher, what inspired you to start sharing wrestling matches with your children in the classroom?
So I started watching wrestling in the pandemic. It was right around SummerSlam when Roman Reigns came back,
Mm-hmm.
2020, and Sasha lost her title to Asuka. That was her.
Mm-hmm.
But I found joy in it. And so I didn't really talk. I didn't have anyone to share it with. You know, like my brother and I, we would talk. Like literally, we would call each other and like talk on the phone. We'd be like this, like, "Oh, you see that? Yo, that's crazy, yo!" Like we do that. But I didn't have anyone to like really like share it with. And so when we got back into the school in 2021, wait, am I getting my years confused? No, 2021.
Yeah.
We went back into the schools. I didn't really have anyone to share it with. Like I was watching, I remember Tampa Bay. Oh, this is why it started with this idea because of the women's main event in 2021, Bianca and Sasha.
Yes.
It was a huge moment, and I had no one to share it with to talk about. Like, do you see the gravity of this moment? Like, do you understand like the bigness? Like, all I couldn't share it with anyone. So that school year, when August came, we had kids. You know, they came in finally in person, and we were talking to them,
Mm-hmm.
and this is right around the time August has come. I'm still watching it, and I would mention it haphazardly with the kids, like, "Yeah, I'm watching wrestling." Da da da. And then it was in November. Never forget it. I was on my phone teaching. I was teaching, and I just happened to pull up my phone, and Bianca posted that she's having a meet and greet in Brooklyn. And I was like, oh, and the kid said, what's wrong with you, Mr. Perry? I said, one of my favorite wrestlers is having a meet and greet. I'm going to go meet her. And then one of the little boys said, oh, I watch wrestling. I said, you do? I said, it's Bianca. Oh, I love Bianca. I was like, no,
Oh.
you don't. I said, you don't watch it. He was like, I do. She go like this. And she like going like that. So it was the cutest thing. So I was like, I'm going to take you. He's like, you are? I said, I'm going to take you. So I bought my Survivor Series ticket. He couldn't go to Survivor Series. His mom wouldn't let him. So the next day, I waited in line for him because I knew he couldn't wait in line that long. So I waited in line from like 7 a.m. He met me at like 11. And we got in line and we met Bianca together. Took pictures, but while we were in line, they had raffle tickets. So out of the thousands of people that came, we won raffle tickets to Raw that night. So I got to take him to his first ever WWE show. And from that moment on, he came back bragging to all the kids. He was like, I got to meet Bianca Belair. I got to take a picture with Bianca. I got to hang out with Mr. Perry outside of school. I got to go to Raw. He even talked about, I got to see Seth Rollins get jumped by a fan. I was like, we're not going to talk about that, all right? I was like, cover your eyes, all right? Like, don't look at that. Like it was crazy. And all the other kids like, what? I want to do this. I watch wrestling. I'm like, no, you don't. I said, well, I'm going to start. I was like, all right, we'll start.
Okay,
you know? And by January, enough kids had gotten invested. So one day after we were giving a test, they were like, you can put on a movie. So I put on Good Burger. But then something in my spirit said, let's watch SummerSlam with Roman Reigns and John Cena. That was the very first one that I showed the kids. And I put it on, and they liked it. I posted a video about it, and it went viral. So I was like, okay, cool. This is nice. I said, maybe we'll watch wrestling again the next day because they liked it. The very next day, I put on, I remember everyone. I put on, well, before I showed them because I love Carmelo Hayes. Before I showed them that, I showed them, was it Bianca and Sasha? I think it was Bianca and Sasha, but I didn't film it. And in that moment, it felt like we were there. Those kids literally were glued, and they were reacting in a way that it gives me chills thinking about it. They were like, ooh, oh, yeah, oh, get up, Bianca. Like, and it was the cutest. I was like watching them. I started watching them. I was like, oh my God, y'all like this. I was like, y'all are enjoying this. Like, y'all really, like, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, y'all like this. So when it finished, I said, if I started a club, like a wrestling club, where we just watch wrestling, but I teach you about it. You know, we look at the ins and the outs from the top to the bottom, the history, the future, the present, all of that stuff. How many of you guys would be interested? Because it's just my homeroom class.
Yeah.
40% raised their hand. I was like, cool, I'll start the club. And so we started it. And then we watched my boy Carmelo. And I sent him the video. He loved it and it went viral. And then he, like, in the moment, sent them a video back and was like, what's up, Mr. Perry's class, da-da-da-da. And the kids like, wow! They were like, oh my God. So like after that, it just took off, you know? Like, it just literally, like, those small moments helped create what it is now. And, like, it's now an official club. I haven't finished filling out all the paperwork because it's a lot of work. I did not know having an after-school program was more intrusive than you being a teacher in the classroom. Like,
wow.
They want everything of me. Like, and when I tell you they want everything of me, it's like, whoa. So I'm still trying to go through the process to get it fully vetted, but it's approved. They have a budget for it for next year, so we're good to go. And it's going to be after school, so we now have a set time. I don't have to take my breaks anymore because, like, right now, wrestling club is during my break, my prep time. So when kids go to lunch and recess, that's my time to be alone, do my paperwork, grades, all that stuff. No, it's wrestling club. So I sacrifice that hour and a half to spend time with the kids in the wrestling club.
Wow. So what's the name of the wrestling club?
The wrestling club.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
I just, I think that's gonna be the name because it feels it started organically and it was authentic, and that's
Mhm.
what I think it should stay. Just a wrestling club. We're just a wrestling club.
And that's so cool how the kids just got into it and how just because this one boy was bragging and now they want to get in on the action and now they love it. And that's just so amazing. Like I love seeing kids. One of my favorite part of going to live events is seeing kids at live events because they just be so into it and they just love to yell and they're just a part of the action just as much as adults
Mm-hmm.
are. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just the coolest thing ever. So that's so cool that they have a club
Yeah,
in their school and they can feel, at home with that. Like you have no idea. Like there might be some other kids who might watch wrestling but feel like they have to keep it a secret. But then when they go to your school, they feel like they don't have to because there's this club here for them, and then they can feel welcomed in there and bring in their knowledge. Like
yeah.
that's so cool.
And like all the other grades are jealous, and they're like, "You have a wrestling club in sixth grade, so I'm gonna open it up next year to all the grades except for fifth
Oh,
grade, unfortunately, because I want them to work towards something.
right.
Look forward to going to sixth grade. Do what you need to do in fifth grade so you can go to sixth grade and be a part of my wrestling club. You feel me? That's my pitch for education. Bing. But no, for real. Like they like it. And it's so interesting because a lot of kids are now like, there's a girl who's like in my class and she's so like girly. Like she likes the girly stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She came up to me randomly a couple weeks ago. I was like, Mr. Perry. I'm like, yes. Um, I watched Sasha and Bianca on my own.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked them. And I was like, you did? She's like, can I be a part of the wrestling club? And I was like, wait, what? You? I was like, you? And she's been there every single, she has not missed a day, not one day. And she's always asking, I'm trying to break her out of the, like, just like Sasha and Bianca. Like, I want her to look at Charlotte and like Bailey and Becky. Like, I want her to like all the wrestling. I want her to like all of them. But right now, she's just hell bent. Can we watch? She's like, can we watch Bianca? I'm like, we've already watched. We got to let everyone. But I want to watch Bianca. Okay, all right, we'll put on Bianca. And then everyone's like, but we want to watch Roman or we want to watch the Montez Ford. We're like, all right, cool. And like every time they're like, can we watch Carmelo? Can we watch Carmelo? I'm like, he don't have any new matches. Like you gotta wait. Like
Oh.
I'm gonna hit him up and be like, yo, you need more matches. Like the kids want to watch you. But yo, like it's crazy. Like they love it, And I showed them Seth Rollins, and they like Seth.
Mm-hmm.
They like Cody. I think they like Cody just because everyone's like on this Cody Rhodes train. But they like Cody. They really love Ricochet.
Yes.
But I think all kids love Ricochet. Ricochet is just like this superhero anime character.
Yes. Who
Yeah,
does all the cool flips?
all. Listen, when I show the matches that get the most reactions right now is Ricochet's. Like when he does anything crazy, it's so loud. I get in trouble. Like teachers will come like looking, giving me glares, like, and I'm like, relax. They're not fighting. They're enjoying themselves. Like,
That's so amazing. I love that for them. Oh
yeah,
my god, that's so cool.
yeah,
That has to be the most precious thing.
it
So,
is.
does any of their reactions sort of remind you of you and your brother's reactions?
It does, but it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't know it was okay to be that free and lost in it. And that's what
Mm.
I like to see with these kids. They are in a place where they can just be lost in it. And that's what makes me mark and pop out. Yeah.
That's so good. That is so good. I'm so happy for them getting lost in it. So, how do you feel about the state of wrestling now, as a fan? And what do you think is great about wrestling, and what can be improved about it?
I like The fact that there's more color representation,
Mm-hmm.
so it's more diverse. I love the inclusion of women in on a. I love the inclusion of women as being looked at as wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that we have a long way to go with getting them to be equal, meaning that equal storylines. Like it's just not just the main event players, but it's all of them, and giving them more time. I say it every week. Women need more time. You can't judge a product. You can't give a critique if you're not giving them time to tell the story. You know, so I champion that, um, and I just like the fact that there's so many faces, different faces. Um, I remember, well, now we have it, but I remember when I first started, I remember it was Asuka as a champ,
Mm-hmm.
Roman as a champ, Sasha as a champ. Uh, was Nakamura a champion? Yeah, he was a champion, but he wasn't at that time. But I can't remember who else was early 2020, 2021 was champions. They were all colored. And I was just like, yo, where was this when I was a kid? The only person of color we had to look up to was King Booker, and he was playing a gimmick that wasn't even him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like to see Montez Ford get to wig out and be his natural blackness is so dope. Or to see Bianca not lose her blackness is dope. Like to see her come out and twirl her hair, do all the things that are associated with being a black woman and be proud of it, and it's used as a symbol of strength. It's dope, so I definitely see progress that has been made, especially from when I was a kid, but there's so much more that can still happen. And so I just hope, you know, it happens, of course, but I hope that the narrative is never silenced. I hope that it's continued to be loud and boastful, so that those changes can happen.
Definitely. The representation part is something that I am proud of, that I'm still able to see in my youth, even though I'm not a child anymore, but still young in a sense. And even though part of me does wish I could have seen it then, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, seeing it now still has the same effect as it probably would if I saw it when I was a kid, regardless, to
Mm-hmm.
me, because it's just like I still take it as inspirational and beautiful. And because I can't tell you how happy I felt when I saw Bianca come out with Texas Southern this year.
Oh,
Like that was one of that gave me so much life and
yes.
oxygen, like because I wasn't in band, but my boyfriend and his brother were, and
Mm-hmm.
I was watching it with them, and they felt seen even with that. And just having that sort of visibility with something that I've grown up loving for so long, it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, with Montez and with Angelo Dawkins, with the Street Profits, and just seeing them and the Hurt Business, and just so many, and the New Day, and seeing so many diverse parts of blackness sort of take place even in other promotions. It's showing that we're not just, a monolithic
Not anymore.
thing, in wrestling, period. And I'm so happy that that is happening. And in terms of women and having more time, you are absolutely correct. um Across all brands, women do deserve more time to tell, meaty stories just like the men have. So I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just excited to even see it or just be a part of it.
Yeah,
Now something, yeah.
I was agreeing.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say something else.
Nah.
Um, but something that I did notice that you said, you mentioned how you kind of want to be the next person to have, your music as a wrestling theme, because of course you're a musician. Because I was talking about how basically the weekend is now known for having three of his hit songs as a WrestleMania theme song for like the past 3 years. So how do you want to continue to contribute to wrestling, in that way, whether it's a fandom or with your music career?
Hello. I'm cheaper. Like I sound a little like him. Like if you want that, let me know and I can make the song. All right. I'm a lot cheaper. All right.
Yes.
But no, I want to do it. I pray that it happens. Can't I'm not gonna be a wrestler, unfortunately. I don't think that's in my cards, but I would love to contribute with music. If it's meant for me, it'll happen. And I'd love to like write songs for the artists, the wrestlers. I love to write theme songs. I just love to be. I want to be a part of WWE in some way because it's been such a life saving product for me. And if it's only just with my wrestling club and I inspire one of my children to go out and actually be a wrestler, then I've done what I needed to do as well. I told them today, like, I think you need to just be 16 to start wrestling. And so they were like, really? I was like, yeah, so you only have a couple more years, and I will help them. I will figure out promotions here in the city to get them involved if that's something that they're serious about. So it's like, if it's with the kid doing it, or if it's with me with music, or if it's, I mean, I feel like I could be an interviewer. I'd love to be backstage and be like, yo, so what do you think about the match? Like, whatever, like, I just want to somehow, hopefully the cards align that I can do it I can have a part within the WWE community because I love it so much and it brings me so much joy. It's the one thing that's made me completely happy in a long time. Yeah.
That's great. And I hope you get to make all of that come true too. Cause I feel like you would have the personality to um be backstage or do interviews or stuff like that. But definitely with your music too. Like that would be amazing if I would just wake up one day and then see your music as a theme for a pay-per-view. I'd be like, oh snap, yes! Like I'll just be so excited.
Yo,
Like,
I will pinch myself. I'll pinch myself like for life. I'll be like permanent pinching. Like, you know what I mean?
yes.
Yeah. So that's the goal. I'm gonna keep doing what I do. Keep making my music that I think represents me. And hopefully someone hears it.
Definitely. I completely respect that. So, who are your top 5 favorite wrestlers of all time, whether they're male, female, or non-binary?
I can't do 5.
Well, do you want to do 10?
Can I do 10?
Yes, you can do 10.
All right. No order.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Sasha, Bianca, Carmelo, Roman, Shawn Michaels,
Mm.
Randy Orton, um, Ricochet, Eddie Guerrero,
Hmm.
Seth Rollins, Victoria.
Okay. That's a pretty solid top 10.
What about you?
Oh, Jesus. That's
See, it,
how
it, it
dare
ain't fun,
you?
right? It ain't fun.
How dare you ask me that? Wait, hold on. I'm gonna do 10. And I'm gonna do them in order. See, sometimes whenever people ask me 5, I
Mhm.
separate male and female. Um,
Oh,
I separate them sometimes. But I think since you did 10, I'm gonna do 10. So it's okay. Sasha Banks is my number one because I just feel like she's the greatest female wrestler of all time, bar
she
none.
is. She
She's the
is.
greatest.
She is.
Yes. I'll definitely say Shawn Michaels. Because when I first saw him, he was like in the 2000s when he found God. And that was something,
Yeah.
yes, and that was something that I identified with him with when he
Yeah,
when
because
he
you
was
went from the
saying,
South. You already know.
yes, when I found out he was saved, I was like, yes, he loves Jesus. I love Jesus. Let's go. And that's what made me love him. But then also his matches, like his quality of matches, even before then, was just amazing. So I respect him. I love him so much. Number 3, I'll definitely say Eddie Guerrero. Like he was great, and I can watch his matches with Rey Mysterio back like 1,000 times, especially at Halloween Havoc, because
Yep. Classic.
yes, WCW, amazing.
Classic.
Um, yes, absolutely. I love Roman Reigns because I just love his growth as a character and just everything that he has overcome to even be an athlete at this point. Like this man survived cancer. Are you kidding
Hmm.
me? He's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And everything he's doing with the head of the table stuff, I just love.
Genius.
Oh my god, it's genius. And of course, I love The Rock. Um, he's my favorite, and I'm definitely manifesting Roman and The Rock fighting next year
Yes.
in Hollywood at WrestleMania because I'm going. I'm
Right.
gonna go regardless.
I'm
But
going too,
that
child.
look, that has to happen. It has to
Yes.
happen. It has to happen. I don't care. It
Yeah.
has to happen.
Yeah.
Um oh my god, I have to list five more. Jesus. I love Thunder Rosa.
Okay.
Yeah, from AEW and other places in Mission Pro Wrestling because I just love her passion for women's wrestling and how she got started in it. And also because she was one of the first big people to that I ever interviewed on my podcast ever. And
Hey.
she didn't have to do that. She did not have to do that, but she did and I'm just so grateful for it. I'm so
Wow.
grateful. I love her. And just to see her as champion now at AEW just makes me so happy. So
Yep.
I'll always sing her praises. Jesus. Wow, this is hard. Another one that I love is Cassandra Golden. She has wrestled in Impact
Mm-hmm.
and in AEW Dark, and she also wrestles for the Belladonna division. She was our Forbidden Elegance champion, but she's not anymore. But she is amazing, and I just love her work ethic. Um, and she's just an amazing person.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Mickey James, and she's someone that I've interviewed during NWA Empower Weekend when she produced that all female show
Hey,
last year.
I remember that.
Yes, I got to interview her and talk with her, and just meeting her, she was just so nice and so sweet, and I just couldn't believe, I was standing next to her the whole time. It was like, what the heck? So that was great. And two more. Oh Lord, this is hard.
See?
It is hard. Oh my gosh. I wasn't expecting you to ask me. I asked the
Well,
question.
expect the unexpected. I'm a teacher. All right. Nah.
Right. Oh my gosh. Two more. I would say definitely Charlotte.
Yeah.
Because I've actually met her. She's cool, but then her evolution and her excellence as a wrestler is like it's bar none. It's great. She's
Agreed.
amazing. Um, and for the 10th one, I think I'll just say, ooh, this is hard. AJ Lee. AJ Lee.
So I'm gonna
I
say
miss
something.
her.
I literally just Googled her this morning and said, "Was AJ Lee a great wrestler?" Because I didn't see her wrestle, but I hear so
Right.
many people talk about her.
Yes.
Like, I might have to just check her out because everyone talks about her.
Yes. Please look back. Like, she was a great wrestler and she was ahead of her time, actually. She was far ahead of her time in terms of the stuff that she was doing, the character that she played, and everything. Like, she called when it was the Divas division, what
Mm-hmm.
she was doing at the time was really great. So, I definitely recommend you go back and look at her stuff because it
Oh,
was
well,
great.
can you send me a list of matches when you get a chance?
Oh, definitely. I'll definitely do
And I'll do it
that.
this weekend because I think what piqued my curiosity, I've heard about her, but someone tweeted today, this morning, I saw they said Sasha Banks wrestled her in her tryout match. And everyone was like,
Yes.
"Where's the footage? This would be the greatest women's match of all time." And I was like, "I don't know this AJ Lee girl. Like, I've heard about her, but everyone keeps talking about her. So maybe I should do my research because that
Oh,
was a
you
period that I
should.
wasn't watching. So I have to check
Mhm.
her out."
Yes, I'll send you a bunch of matches, like a compilation of stuff that you should watch for her.
Okay,
Like definitely.
cool.
All right. So you did talk about representation in wrestling. So um has and you did talk about how Carmelo Hayes even made, notice you and your children and how they were watching wrestling. Has any other wrestler taken notice of any footage that you've had of your children or any of your music?
None of my music,
Okay.
just fine. Um, but yeah, Biggie, Sasha, Becky, Ricochet,
Hmm.
um, a couple of like, oh, Byron Saxton, uh,
Oh.
um, Ryan Satin.
Mhm.
He's a Fox Sports analyst.
Yeah, he's the host of Out of Character. That's one of
Yeah,
their podcasts. Yeah.
yeah. WWE NXT.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's cool because like I posted it because I thought it was cool to see their reactions. and like I just was blown away. I just filmed it, and it was so stupid how I filmed it because I wasn't thinking about the fact that there were kids, you know, and how thankfully it's been a positive thing, but it could very well be negative. There's trolls. So I wasn't even thinking at first. I was just so like, I was like, what? Like, y'all care? Like, y'all are actually in, like, they forgot that I was in the room and was just into it. I was like, I gotta film this for myself. Like, I gotta have this moment. And I just happened to post it on Twitter, and I went back to teaching. Like, I was like, and then I look back and my phone's just, I'm like, what's
Yes.
going on here? Like, what's happening? Like, that never happens. And it was like people just was messaging me, private messaging me. I've gotten so many people want to send kids like posters and like t-shirts, and I'm like, yeah, but let me set up a PO box first. Like, so like I didn't expect none of this to happen. It is cool because it's like everyone loves wrestling, you know? And to see kids, I guess it's just the greatest thing in the world. But it was the greatest thing for me. So just to share it with everyone else, I just thought it's cool that the wrestlers are seeing it, and reaching out, like, because they don't have to, you know? So it's cool that they reach out and they want to, you know, tell the kids hello and, make their worlds, make them explode even more. Like when Carmelo, it's a cool dude.
Mhm.
He not only sent the kids a video when they took their state test, he wished them good luck, and I told them,
Oh.
and like they love him. Like I'm his biggest fan. So like I'm part of the Carmelo gang, or whatever you call it, whatever. I don't know what they call his fans yet, but
Me
like
either.
I am like every time there's a thing with him, I'm showing the kids. I'm like, this is a star. He's gonna be a star. Y'all better root for him, type thing. And so they love him. So they always, and like I remember one day we were in class and one of the kids was like, and I don't miss like Mello. And I was like, no, you do.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
like, wait a minute, wait a minute. And I couldn't even respond. I was just like, what? Like they're so cute sometimes. I was like, wait, what? Like,
Where is this coming from?
yeah. So it's cool when they do that, and he really does like the kids, and so I thought it was cool, and they feel connected to him. And so we're gonna try to set something up, hopefully, where he zooms the kids and talks to them because they really like him. Yeah,
Yeah, I was just thinking the next step naturally now is to just get them to do like a meet and greet or to get them to surprise them in class.
yeah.
Like that would be insane. They would
Mm-hmm.
probably just lose their minds and probably be like,
Oh,
"Oh my god, it's you!" Like,
I'd probably get let go. They're probably like, Perry, that class is too loud.
oh, I
They'd
hope
probably
they
be like,
wouldn't.
them kids in there, they ain't learning.
Oh my goodness.
No, they would be happy. The school would love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what does the future hold for you?
Uh, Hopefully, good health for one.
Yeah.
Um, Teaching, music, WWE. No particular order.
Okay. That's a pretty good way to end our time together. Thank you so much, Victor, for coming on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. So, just tell everyone where they can find you or follow you on social media and see what you've got going on. And also talk, more about your music and where they can listen to it as well.
Yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter. Wallflower Perry is my name. Wallflower Perry. And my Instagram is Wallflower named Perry. And then you can find my music, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere really. Just type in Victor Perry, and you'll find all my music, and you can hear. I make a lot of music, so I'm sure you'll find at least one song that you bop to. So,
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And as usual, know that you can follow your girl, Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. And also listen to the Hardy Wrestling Podcast everywhere you get your podcast. And also support me as I try to win this award for the Alabama Music Awards for Bama Podcast of the Year. Please vote, vote, vote as I share the link on my social media platforms. And until then, just have an amazing day and just continue to chill out and love wrestling. Bye, y'all.